It was clear from the outset that Islam was destined to reach all of mankind. After a defining struggle, Muhammad ﷺ established the first Islamic state with which the world superpowers would immediately be challenged. It wasn't long before the Islamic State, now governed by the khilafah, was to open land after land, implementing the comprehensive Islamic laws upon those who were previously blinded by the oppressive yoke of those that ruled. In the year 638, Palestine was opened to Islam and what is referred to as the Umari Treaty ratified, ensuring a lasting coexistence between the Christians and the Muslims in the Holy Land. For centuries, societies under Islam prospered, setting an unprecedented example for the rest of humanity and earning the resentment and jealousy from the enemies in Western Europe. Soon, these enemies were to embark on a campaign to win back some of these lands from the Islamic State. An irrational hatred and envy was to be aroused by Pope Urban II, urging the Christian believers to reclaim the Holy Lands from the infidels. Count Henri de Castries, the French author of the book entitled Islam, recounts in the year 1896. I cannot imagine what the Muslims would say if they heard the tales of the medieval ages and understood what the Christian orators used to say in their hymns. All our hymns, even those which emerged before the 12th century, emanated from one concept, which was the cause of the Crusades. These hymns were filled with hatred towards the Muslims due to their total ignorance of their religion. Everyone used to regard the Muslims as polytheists, disbelievers, idol worshippers, and apostates. The Crusaders' attack on the Caliphate came at a time when the Muslim world was divided. After capturing Jerusalem in the year 1099, the Crusaders left the Muslims in disbelief. As news reached the then principal city of Damascus, Muslims were aroused in their sentiments towards their brothers and sisters, 30,000 of whom, including children, were massacred by the Europeans as they captured the city of Bayt al-Maqdis. It took 88 years until, in the year 1187, the Muslims united under Salahuddin Ayyubi and dealt the Crusaders a deafening blow in July of that year at the Battle of Hattin. A few months later, the Blessed General took up his position to the west of the city, with the area teeming with mujahideen ready to fight for the sake of Allah. On the glorious Friday corresponding to the 27th of Rajab of the 583rd year of the Hijri calendar, the Crusaders were finally defeated, and the Muslims took hold of Al-Quds once again, on the anniversary of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, the very day the Prophet ascended from that holy site to the heavens. After recovering from the damage caused by the Mongol invasion, Islam continued to be embraced by people in their multitudes. In the 15th century, Constantinople was conquered, and the last stronghold of the Byzantine Empire rested in Muslim hands. In the 16th century, the Islamic State swept across southern and eastern Europe, carrying Islam to its people. Millions in Albania, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria and other areas embraced Islam. After the siege of Vienna in 1529, Europe formed alliances to stop the khilafah's expansion into Europe. It was at this point, when the Muslims almost took Vienna, that the Crusader animosity towards Islam and the Caliphate was revived, and plans were hatched to deal with what became known as the Oriental Problem. The Crusades were one example of many, where the Europeans attempted to destroy the Caliphate militarily. Having failed to do so, they turned to another strategy. It was clear to them that the only way to stop the advance of the Muslims was to weaken the source of their strength, the Islamic Aqidah, and thus to cause the collapse of the Islamic State from within. The sowing of poisonous concepts, such as nationalism, saw these ideas slowly take root through Western agents disguised as missionaries involved in the field of science and humanitarian aid. These missionaries consisted of British, French and American agents who aimed at distancing the Muslims away from the correct understanding of Islam by inserting doubt and conjecture into their minds. Chief among these plans was the arousal of nationalistic feeling, so that the people began to identify as Persians, Arabs and Turks instead of Muslims. The first missionary center was thus established in Malta towards the end of the 16th century. Such centers, however, had a minimal effect until the 18th and 19th centuries, when the Islamic decline began to perpetuate. The American mission penetrated the entire region of Ash-Sham by 1834. The British and American Protestant missionaries established their centers in Syria in the year 1839. The Syrian Protestant College, now the American University of Beirut, was established in the year 1866. Other societies included the initially clandestine Al-Jamia Al-Limia Al-Surya, or the Syrian Scientific Society, which was formed in 1857, and the Ottoman decentralization parties such as Al-Qahtahiyya, Al-Fatath and Al-Ahad. These organizations and others were able to carry the Arab nationalist torch, whose sparks were spread among the Arab masses, where the Christian missionaries further inflamed religious divisions, which resulted in serious disturbances between the Christians and the Druze, eventually engulfing and involving the Muslims of the Islamic State.